What if one volcanic eruption could change the course of history? In 1815, Mount Tambora erupted with a force so immense that it plunged the world into darkness, literally. This single event led to freezing summers, global famine, and societal collapse in ways few could imagine. Today, we're telling the story of the Mount Tambora eruption, a disaster that holds critical lessons for preppers everywhere. Welcome to Prepper's Paradigm, your channel dedicated to practical prepping and disaster preparedness. I use a computer-generated voice for these videos due to an injury that makes my voice hard to understand, but the information is all real. In this video, we'll explore the catastrophic eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815, the deadliest volcanic eruption in recorded history. We'll uncover how it triggered the year without a summer, a year of global famine, food riots, and disease outbreaks. You'll learn how the world was thrown into chaos by one natural disaster, and why these events are so important for preppers to understand today. We'll also discuss the lessons we can take from this historic event and how you can prepare for similar disruptions in the future. So, stay with us as we dive into this remarkable story and explore how history can guide us toward better preparedness. Let's start with the eruption itself. Mount Tambora, located in what is now Indonesia, was a massive stratovolcano that stood over 14,000 feet tall before it erupted. In April 1815, it unleashed the most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded history. The explosion was so massive that it was heard over 1,200 miles away, and the ash cloud rose more than 25 miles into the atmosphere. The immediate effects were devastating. Around 10,000 people living near the volcano were killed almost instantly by pyroclastic flows and falling debris. The surrounding region was buried under several feet of ash, wiping out villages and farmlands. But the disaster didn't stop there. Tambora's eruption released an enormous amount of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, which mixed with water vapor to form aerosols. These particles spread across the globe, blocking sunlight and causing temperatures to plummet. The result? What scientists now call a volcanic winter. Global temperatures dropped by as much as 3 degrees Fahrenheit, which, although it doesn't sound like much, disrupted weather patterns worldwide. Crops failed, livestock died, and communities that depended on predictable seasons were thrown into chaos. The eruption's effects didn't just stay local, it became a global disaster. For the next several years, societies around the world felt the ripple effects of Tambora's fury. The year following Mount Tambora's eruption, 1816, became infamous as the year without a summer. Across the globe, temperatures dropped and weather patterns became erratic. In New England, frosts occurred in June, July, and August. Farmers planted their crops only to see them wither and die under sudden freezes. Snow fell as late as June, and in some areas, rivers froze in July. This wasn't an isolated phenomenon, it was a global crisis. Europe, still reeling from the Napoleonic Wars, faced widespread famine. Torrential rains and unseasonably cold weather destroyed crops, leading to skyrocketing food prices. Bread riots broke out in cities like Paris, and desperate people scavenged the countryside for anything edible. In some places, the lack of food was so severe that many families resorted to eating moss and weeds. The story was no different in Asia. Monsoons became unpredictable, devastating rice crops in China and India. Famine spread, claiming countless lives. Epidemics followed, as weakened populations succumbed to diseases like typhus and cholera. Even North America, relatively isolated from global conflicts, felt the impact. The year was dubbed 1800 and froze to death. Entire families abandoned their farms, unable to survive without a harvest. Many joined the migration westward in search of more stable conditions. The ripple effects of Tambora's eruption reached every corner of the globe, proving how interconnected the world was, even in the early 19th century. For preppers, the story of the year without a summer is a stark reminder of how a single event can disrupt food systems and plunge societies into crisis. The catastrophic aftermath of Mount Tambora's eruption offers critical lessons for preppers today. One of the biggest takeaways is how vulnerable societies can be to disruptions in food production. In 1816, most people relied on local agriculture and seasonal harvests to survive. When those systems failed, Famine quickly followed. For modern preppers, this highlights the importance of diversifying food sources and storing long-term supplies. Stockpiling non-perishable foods like rice, beans, and freeze-dried meals can provide a buffer in times of crisis. But it's not just about having food. It's about building redundancy into your plans. Growing your own food is another key strategy, and incorporating techniques like indoor gardening or hydroponics can help you produce crops even when outdoor conditions are unfavorable. The Tambora disaster also underscores the importance of adaptability. People in 1816 were caught off guard because they had no way to predict or prepare for the sudden climate shift. As preppers, we can learn from this by planning for a range of scenarios, from natural disasters to economic collapses, and staying flexible enough to adapt to unexpected changes. Another important lesson is the need for community resilience. While relying on others is not a central focus for most preppers, the historical record shows that those who cooperated and pooled resources often fared better. Building small, trusted networks of like-minded individuals can provide support during extended crises, especially when resources become scarce. Finally, Tambora serves as a reminder to prepare for the long haul. The effects of the eruption weren't confined to a single year. They persisted for years, disrupting food supplies and economies long after the initial event. Having the tools, skills, and mindset to survive not just short-term disasters, but prolonged hardships is what sets true preparedness apart from basic emergency planning. The story of Mount Tambora isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a warning for the modern world. Today, we face risks that could mirror the effects of Tambora's eruption, or even exceed them. Supervolcanoes like Yellowstone, for example, have the potential to unleash eruptions on a similar or even greater scale. Scientists estimate that such an event could plunge the planet into a volcanic winter lasting years, with catastrophic consequences for global agriculture and food supplies. But it's not just volcanoes we need to think about. The Tambora disaster highlights how interconnected systems, like weather, food production, and economies, can be disrupted by a single event. In our modern, globalized world, those connections are even more fragile. A volcanic eruption, a large-scale natural disaster, or even geopolitical conflicts could disrupt supply chains, leading to shortages of essentials like food, medicine, and energy. Climate change also amplifies these risks. As weather patterns become more unpredictable, the likelihood of agricultural failures increases. Even without a massive eruption, we're already seeing how droughts, floods, and extreme weather events can destabilize food supplies and economies. For preppers, this means staying vigilant and prepared for events that could escalate quickly and have global consequences. The lessons of Tambora, stockpiling supplies, diversifying resources, and planning for long-term disruptions, are just as relevant now as they were in 1816. By understanding how these systems are interconnected, we can better anticipate and prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. The eruption of Mount Tambora and the resulting year without a summer stand as powerful reminders of nature's unpredictability and humanity's fragility. A single event plunged the world into chaos, triggering widespread famine, disease, and unrest. But within this story of devastation are lessons that we, as preppers, can apply today. The importance of food storage, adaptability, and preparing for long-term disruptions. Disasters like this can happen again, whether from a supervolcano, extreme weather, or even global supply chain failures. By learning from history and taking practical steps to prepare, we can ensure that we're better equipped to face whatever challenges lie ahead. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Prepper's Paradigm. Let us know in the comments, how are you preparing for events that could disrupt global food supplies? Thank you for watching. Remember, staying informed and proactive is the key to navigating uncertain times.